Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Fantastic Friday. We thank God for the move and the power of His Spirit that allows us to do all the things that He has created for us to do. You know, and as you and I are poised going into this powerful weekend, a weekend in which many of us will see graduation celebrations of our family members, our friends, and as we also prepare for that significant day that we call Mother's Day. Make sure you go get your cards now before they run out. I want to give a shout out to our oldest son, Paul Anderson II. On this coming Sunday, he'll be graduating from the University of Missouri, getting his master's degree in music. His emphasis is in choral conducting. Congratulations, Paul. May God bless you. Today, we begin to look at a passage out of Exodus, the 24th chapter, verses 15 through 18, the New Living Translation. It lets us see that then Moses climbed up the mountain and the cloud covered it. It is so significant that you and I see that God called Moses to come up to higher ground. He was so high that there was a cloud surrounding them. It is now that he gets and he settles down in this place that is known as Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. You know, he was so high up that you couldn't see what was happening below. I think that is a true testimony to you and to me that God wants us to get high enough in what He has called us to do that we're not so concerned about what's below us, but let's focus on the moment that we're there. You know, God calls Moses up to the mountain. You know, God is calling you. He's calling me up to the mountain. He wants us to go to a higher place. There was a song that was written that said, "Lord, let me plant my feet on higher ground." Moses makes his way to the top of the mountain. As he climbs up the mountain, he's there for 7 days. It is very significant. 7 is that number that we find is of completion. We find out that after God did all of His work in the book of Genesis of creating and making all the things, the firmament below and above, all those living creatures, after He has made man, it's on the 7th day that He said everything is complete. So the Lord calls Moses up to the mountaintop. He's there for 7 days. He's inside of the cloud. The cloud that many of us see is not just a natural cloud, but it's the glory cloud. That God calls him up to a place where He wants him to be reminded that your foot on this mountain, you will see just what God is doing. Look, God is a consuming fire. We find out this cloud is filled with smoke. It shows us the presence of the God that we serve, who is known as the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God that is given to Moses. Now, Moses climbs up here, and as he remains there, he stays there after the 7 days, that God does something powerful for him on the 7th day. He changes him, and he stays there for 40 days and 40 nights. It is so significant that on that 7th day, the Lord called Moses inside of the cloud. And once he got into the cloud, he lost track of time. You know, that's what happens when you and I get into the glory and the presence of God. Time doesn't matter because God is in control of time and eternity. See, the people below the cloud had no idea what was going on. They said within themselves that Moses must be dead. He's been gone too long. He hasn't had any food, hasn't had any water. He has to be dead. But Moses stays there for 40 days. And in those 40 days, God gives to Moses what is known as the 10 Commandments. They deal with our relationship with God and our relationship with one another. You know, if you and I spend time up in the place of God, we'll find out that those 4 commandments deal with our relationship with God, and the other 6 deal with how we relate to one another. God tells us all we need is a little bit of time with Him, and it'll help us figure out how to use the rest of the time with people below. So now we find out that Moses is on the mountain. He hasn't come down yet. And may you and I stay on the mountain like Moses did. Before we come down, we know we're fully heard from God. Today, I want to remind you, you are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and God has a great blessing in store for you. And I'll look forward to sharing with you again on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.